Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I am starting yet another vlog, and this is a continuation of my Rina Kent journey I've been going through. I am reading Rina Kent's backlist in her reading order that's listed on her site. I did want to prepare for the newer series, the most recent one that gets so much hype and I'm dying to get to. I want to read it now, but I really wanted to read all her backlist first because it is a second generation series. So I was interested to see like their parents' journey and which books they were from and all that. But anyways, if you are interested, I have quite a few vlogs up already for Rina Kent. I've been slowly doing this. So those are all available in my vlog playlist. Hopefully soon I'll just make a Rina Kent vlog playlist because honestly there's going to be a bunch for her. But I am continuing on this journey, and in this video I'm going to be going over Blackthorns. I think it's Blackthorns. Sorry. Red Thorns and Blackthorns. So this is the next duet that I need to read. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Okay guys, so I actually was about to start Red Thorns today at work. And I noticed at the beginning of the book, she mentioned Yellow Thorns, which was like a prequel. So I went to go see if I could find it, and it wasn't on Kindle Unlimited that I could see, but I clicked on basically the link in the book, and it sent it so you can get like a free ebook from Rina Kent. Of course, I had to sign up for her newsletter to get that, and I did. So I started to read this. It was like basically like 40 pages, I think, maybe less. And it was like supposed to be this prequel. And let me tell you, like, it's just kind of like a setup for the series, but I didn't even need to get it because once I started into the book, the first book, it's literally the beginning of the book. So that really irritated me to start off because that was like a gimmick to get me to like go through all that. It's literally the first 30 pages of the book is what I read as this prequel. That's not a prequel, people. Like, that's not a prequel. Anyways, that irritated me. So I didn't even know how to rate that because it's the first part of the book set up as a novella. So I gave it 3 stars because I'm like, I don't even know what the point of. I was almost not even going to rate it, but whatever. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the first book. So the first book is Red Thorns. And I'm about 30% through. That's the thing with Rina Kent. She really sucks you in with her writing. It's really easy to read. You kind of like can speed through it very well. And she hooks you. So that's never been a complaint for me with Rina Kent. So in the previous duet that I read, it's kind of set at that same school. And that one was, I think, All the Lies and All the Truths. And we meet these characters in that. And honestly, the girl that was in that, she had amnesia and she found out she was like the mean girl. And this is going back in time before she wakes up not knowing who she is. So we get to see her as like the mean head cheerleader bitchy girl. And our heroine in this duet is Naomi. And she's, I believe, Japanese American, and she doesn't know who her father is. She's she's a cheerleader, but she's kind of forced to be a cheerleader by her mom to kind of like put up this image. She really could give 2 shits about being a cheerleader, and she hates it. And she tries to throw little like tantrums to try and get kicked off. She just doesn't want to be there. She has had kind of like a pen pal for a few years. And I think the pen pal's name is, let me double check if it lists it here. Hold on. I think it's in the prologue. So let me double check that. Okay. She has it opens up with a prologue with a pen pal, and their name is Akira, And they seem to be like have known who she is and told to like write her to help with their like learning English and all that kind of stuff, which already felt shady. And you kind of know this is going to be our hero. And the hero of this book is Sebastian. And you met him in the previous Duet. He is the star quarterback of this college. He's like basically a player. He's the hot guy. He's I think his grandpa, I think his grandfather was, I think, a senator, if I'm remembering correctly. I might be wrong on that. But he's in politics, and his life is something we don't know happened to his parents, where they tried to get away and not be part of that politician life. And like something bad has happened to them and they're not there. So the grandparents has raised him. So, already, basically what the setup is Naomi is kind of like that awkward emo, like almost antisocial chick, and she really hates the chick that was the heroine from the last books that I read. She's like the mean girl, and that mean girl actually does a lot of kind of like pranks, bets, like cruel things to people. And in that duet, we found out that she did something to Naomi. She did a prank on her, and Sebastian was part of it. Okay. So anyways, Sebastian was part of it, and we don't know what happened with them, but like Naomi hated him at that time. So this is the before that. So we know this, we're going to see what happened. And basically Rina, which is the mean girl, she had basically had him where he's going to do a prank and do a fuck up thing to Naomi by like sleeping with her. And so he's like, doesn't really want to have to do this, but he's like, okay. You could tell he's very like into Naomi in his own way. Obviously like he's going to end up being the pen pal, I believe. I would think so, unless I'm completely off base. I mean, I did get off base on the last duet, so it could happen again. But he knows a lot about her for supposedly never talking to her, knowing anything about her, or caring about her. So it should be interesting. So his thing is he's supposed to sleep with her. She kind of thinks he's like, she's being set up. She's very suspicious. But he like at one point at a football game, he's being interviewed and they're like, oh, where'd all this energy come from? And he just like pulls her to him and he's like, this girl, that's where I got my energy. And he starts making out with her on camera. And then he tries to like push her into going on a date with him. And she's like, hell no. She stands him up. He shows up at her house. And, you know, he kisses her, they're making out, and he's like, if you don't moan while I kiss you, you win. But if you moan, then you have to come with me. And of course she moans, and he takes her out to the middle of nowhere, to the woods. And he's like, run. And so now we have some primal play going on. So he has her run and he chases her down. And of course, she doesn't make it to the car, which was her, if she would win that way. And he basically says, I want you to suck my dick. Like, I want you to give me a blowjob. And he's kind of like, what's with this innocent routine? Like, she's kind of giving a really inexperienced blowjob. And he realizes that she's never done it. And so he gets really into that. Like, he's like guiding her and telling her what to do. And they just have this really insane, like, great connection, chemistry. There's some funny banter and they're kind of like the enemies to lovers banter, even though she has had a crush on him for years, like since high school. So that's kind of where we're at right now. There was a scene where she was driving. She's actually trying to hire a PI because she wants to find out who her father was. Her mother refuses to tell her, and she wants to know who her father is. So she meets with the PI. On her way there, she's going through this very secluded area. It's very dark. And this like blacked out van with tinted windows is like following her and getting close to her, and she's just freaking out. Once she gets to the location to meet the PI, they disappear. So who knows what that's about? Like, So we'll see. So I am enjoying it so far. I really like the characters. I like Naomi. She's kind of a dry, bitchy, antisocial girl. And Sebastian seems really like dark and broody under like the perfect exterior because he has to get in politics one day, which he does not want to do. So interesting setup. We will see how it goes from here. But I will check back in with you guys in a little while. I'm not sure if I'll do it again tonight. But I will check in. I don't know if I'm going to check in when I finish the book or do a couple more check-ins. We'll see, because who knows how long these vlogs get sometimes. All right, I will see you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I just wanted to do a quick check-in. I haven't finished the book yet. I didn't have a lot of time to read today, in between like my lunch and break and everything at work, but I am about like 60% through, and so I thought I'd just do a really quick update. So I am currently, where it's kind of picked up, but this book is mostly a CNC relationship. If you don't know what that is, that's consensual non-consent. So Sebastian and her really get into this. They both kind of have an interest in this. He's very dominant and he has a lot of anger and violence in him that he has to hold in. And so he's able to let that out with her. She feels like his perfect match. They'll like go out in the woods. He'll chase her down like he did in the previous clip. But another time he actually did it at her house, and he basically had sex with her on like the stairs in like a pretty, violent fashion. I mean, they are both, trust me, she's consenting. She gets off on it. She loves it. She loves almost like the degradation and all of those things too. So she's definitely into it. I do gotta say, I don't know if this person that is writing her pen pal is him, because he's very into her and he says that they're like the perfect match, like they're made for each other. First I had my mom's cat crying, now it's my cat crying out here. Okay, just ignore the crying of my cat in the background. Anyways, so she, what was I even saying? God, the cats. So, she's really into it. She loses her virginity to him, like, which he really like never was into virgins, but he gets off on that. Oh, I was saying about this pen pal. I'm sorry, you guys. So anyways, with the pen pal, I thought it was going to be him and it'd be like that kind of like hidden identities thing, but now I'm not so sure, because he's all in on her, like totally in on with her, and thinks that they have like the perfect relationship, that they're like better halves to each other, like she was made for him, and that they're truly compatible. So I don't know why he would do this, because she kind of confesses this CNC thing to her friend a little bit, and he, like, this person writes the meanest letter to her. And I mean, some of it he does call her on her bullshit, on how she like pretends to be so badass and not care about people when really she doesn't have any friends, and she just pushes people away, and she hates on Rina, the head cheerleader, because she wishes she was her. It's just like the meanest letter. He basically kink shames her for being into this CNC and says she's like messed up and needs to get to a therapist. So it was a really mean letter. So I really hope that that's not Sebastian, because it is fucking cruel. So and so now they're just, it's kind of like this ongoing thing. They meet up in the woods. He chases her. They do like rape play, CNC, and that's kind of what's going on right now. We're basically waiting around for her to find out about the bet prank thing that Raina set him up to basically have sex with her. You can tell Sebastian doesn't even care about this bet, and he just wants her anyways, but I'm sure there'll be some big fallout because of that. So just wanted to do a quick update. I will follow back up with you guys once I finish the book. I'm not sure if I'll check in tonight or tomorrow. We will see, but I will see you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I did just finish the book. It's late at night. It's like about 11:30. I have to get up at 5:30, so even though I'm looking kind of haggard, I was like, let's just do a quick update real quick. So I did finish, I believe it's Red Thorns. I keep mixing them up. Yeah, so I did finish Red Thorns, and it was decent. I think it was a pretty good first half. Obviously, with duets, you don't have the full story, so they're kind of hard to rate. I did think this was kind of dragging a little bit on and on with the CNC content. There's a lot of, the consensual non-consent happening, a lot of their primal play and their kinky times. I think it is a lot of that. So to me, honestly, this probably could be one book if we cut those scenes in half and just finish it as one book. But that is honestly, like, it's constantly a complaint of mine with duets. Sometimes I feel like it's dragged out for no reason. But I did like this. I liked it better than Reina's book, which was the one where she had amnesia. It was just, her duet was just a little over the top. So I'm enjoying this. I like Sebastian's character. There are some really interesting talks they have about him kind of being, I don't know if he's a sociopath, psychopath kind of tendencies, because he really doesn't show empathy. And he even talks about how he would basically, like, he's very good at seeing how people act, how they're, their body language, how you're supposed to react in a certain situations, and that he's able to mimic that. He's been his therapist and all this kind of stuff. Something happened to him, I think, when his parents died that kind of made him go a little darker, but who knows, he might have always been kind of like this. So they have had some of those interesting kind of conversations. Their relationship is like evolving and they're getting closer, and it's not like just about the sex. Sometimes he's gotten like, he used to just like leave her after he had sex with her. Like, she kind of calls him the beast, like when he's in the beast form. And then when he comes back and he's like regular Sebastian. But there have been times too where he like cuddled with her immediately afterwards. He's very possessive over her, and there are other guys that like wanted to get with her, and he's very psycho about it. So a lot of that stuff is just kind of dragging on in the last part of this book. But basically what we do have is the reveal. We knew it was going to come here at the third act of him doing this bet. Of course, it's thrown in her face really cruelly by Reina's little like side bitch friend. And here you're seeing the beginning effects of like Rina like kind of being stressed and not fully involved in this. And so she finds out that he basically did this because of the bet, and she basically tells him like, we're over. He is not taking no for an answer. He's pursuing her hard. And he even says like, I'm not sorry. Like, she's like, do you even get what you did to me? Like, and he's like, well, yeah, I get it, but like, I got you, like, so it's worth it. So he's very definitely has those psychopath tendencies where he just doesn't get it. He's like, well, yeah, I get it, but he wanted her and he was going to do whatever it took to have her. So he thought it was justifiable, So I always love those kind of heroes. One of my favorites is Carter Mahoney. So again, so we also find out that her mom is dying of cancer. She's like coughing up all this blood. And so she kind of learns that her father was like not a good man. There were these other men there, like Japanese men, like talking to her mom and like kind of threatening her a little bit. And so we infer that those are her, and we figure out that those are her father's men, and he knows about her and assumes that she's his daughter and he wants her, and just different stuff like that. I guess the mom had like faked a DNA test to keep him away. So she agrees to like stop looking for her father. And so there's just this whole mystery of her father. And then eventually like she ends up going out to like the old place with their rock where they used to do their primal play and stuff. And two men try to come after her and she runs from them. And then Sebastian's there. But the guy was like, I told you I'd see you again, and it's one of those Japanese men. And he ends up what sounds like shooting Sebastian. So that's where we end it. So I will be interested to see what we do with the second half of this duet. I'm probably going to take a little break because honestly, I just read Jagger Cole's new release and that was a CNC. And that had the Yakuza too in it. So it's just, these are feeling very like back-to-back CNC books. So I am actually going to read, I just got The Arc for Older by Jennifer Hartman. So I think I'm going to jump into that, give myself a little break from the CNC, and then I will finish out this duet. I think I'm going to give this 4 stars. It's definitely like 5 chilies. It's plenty spicy. There's a lot going on in this. I mean, they eventually do anal. There's the CNC. There's primal play. You know, they get down and dirty. It's a lot of rough sex, a lot of degradation, which I'm not really the biggest fan of. But if you want a kinky time, this duet definitely brings that. So thank you for watching. I will follow up with you guys once I start to pick up the second part, which I believe is Thorns. All right. See you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I am back. I have started Thorns. Just came back from my brother's. He was having a barbecue at his place. Actually was finally clear in San Diego today. It's been raining every weekend, so it was kind of nice to just go hang out and eat some barbecue. So I was able to start a little bit of it today. So I just got home. I read a little bit and I'm about 30% through this book. And I'm liking it a lot more than the first book because the first book was just so a continuous thing about the CNC relationship. And this book does pick up right after it left off. And the last one, they did get kidnapped. He got shot. And she doesn't know who these men are. She thinks they might have work for her father. So they're not knowing what's going on. They basically are left in like this room. It's like there's no way out. There's like one kind of door thing that can kind of open from the outside. And these guys are speaking to them through like this kind of speaker thing. Sebastian is in a bad place. He has a bad shot, a wound. He was shot. He's like bleeding out. And they are kind of left there for a while where she's trying to hold her shirt up to his wound and take care of him. Then they finally hear from these people that are talking to them and they want to play a game. And they like are basically telling them, you'll get water if you answer, like, tell us a secret that nobody knows. And so Sebastian's like, don't say anything or they'll have shit on us. They're still not going to help us. But Naomi does say a secret. They're like already knew it about her anyway. So they're like, that's not a secret because she did bring up how she was molested. And so these people already knew that. So that's kind of shady. And then basically Sebastian brought up his secret about his parents and how his parents were kind of like on the run. They had stolen something from Power for People, a painting. And then all of a sudden they were like, had a car accident. So he basically said like they were killed and it was covered up that way. So they give them water and they share the water and stuff. But in order to get food, they basically tell Naomi she needs to take off her bra. And Sebastian's like, no, hell no, no one else is going to see you. So they end up turning off all the lights and like leaving them for, I think, like a couple days. And they're like really bad. Sebastian is like feverish. Has infection. And they actually have a really sweet conversation. They talk about how he was like, they kind of talk about the bet because the bet was the big thing in the first one on why she was upset. And he was like, it wasn't about the bet. I wanted to be with you. It was just kind of like that made me force my hand because he didn't want the other douchebag guy to go for her. And so it pushed him to finally up it. And she's like, well, you didn't even know who I was. And he basically brings up he had seen her like 3 years ago and he's been like watching her ever since. And then she also brings up how he had like helped her on her first day at like the high school. And so she was like, thankful for him, even though she's like, I don't know why you helped me because you don't know how to show empathy and you don't have empathy. And he's like, well, I wasn't really trying to help you. It's just something about you must have made me do that nice thing. Anyway, so they have this heart to heart, and he basically tells her, like, as he's like kind of going, like he's passing out, and she's like, don't leave me, baby. Like, I love you. Like, I don't want to live without you. And he's like, marry me. Like, when we get out of here, I want you to marry me. And she says yes. And then like he passes out. He's doing really badly where like he's gonna die in there, and so they offer like, we'll get him a doctor, but you need to have sex with me, one of the guys says. And so Sebastian does not want that to happen, but she's like, I will do it. Like, if it helps you, I need to get you safe. And so she goes out there, and she runs into the guy that was basically telling her that she needed to have sex with him, but also somebody that like kind of was speaking to her, and she said sounded kind of familiar, and he was calling her princess in Japanese, and she felt like it was something he's called her before. And when she gets out there, it's actually Kai, who is that PI that she hired to find her dad, and they actually work for her dad. And so he tells her, like, you know, we're not going to make you have sex with us. That was a test. You passed. And you have to agree to everything and be with your dad. And that means you have to lose something, and you have to agree with it. And so she says, yes, I'll do anything. Just get him to the hospital. And so he does get to the hospital. He's freaking out when he finally wakes up. He was like in a coma for 3 days, and he's like telling the police about her and worried about her safety. And they tell him that she actually was with her mom like a day ago, and they left the country for Japan. And she left him a text basically telling him that after what she had to go through, she couldn't look at him. So he's thinking she was like raped, and she said she didn't want anything else to do with him, and basically like ends things. So we all know that's probably what she had to do for her father and to save his life. But then what's crazy is the next chapter, it says 7 years later. So now we have a big time jump. So obviously he never found her, was never able to locate her again. Now he's a lawyer. He basically said F off to his grandparents that were like wanted him in politics and were like, didn't really care about him and hurt his parents and all this kind of stuff. So he's a lawyer with his uncle. And then also comes into play Daniel and Knox from, I don't remember Daniel, but I remember Knox, and that they were from actually the Royal Elite series. I think Knox is actually the sister of Elsa, I think her name was. Anyways, he's the brother, like the brother of her character, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. But so there are two British guys that were friends with Aiden from the Royal Elite, and they also work at this law firm. So they're like the three hot like lawyers, and they're at a charity event, and he sees her, and she is married. Now, at the same time, we've been getting these like weird like letters from her pen pal, because he's losing it after she hasn't written him back, and he's like going in a tailspin and all this stuff. And that guy's name was Akira, and her husband's name is Akira. So is this the same guy? And how did she get married to him, and what's going on? So I don't know what the hell's happening. But Sebastian's pretty pissed. He basically kind of like lost his only part of his heart he had with what happened 7 years ago. And he kind of like wants to find out everything about her husband and ruin her, or who knows what. And so now he's motivated to go after her. So I don't know what happened, if she married that guy, or if he like worked for her dad, or if it's even the same guy. I don't know, but this is interesting. So basically we're 7 years into the future, and she's married, and he is livid. So I'm interested. I'm actually enjoying this a lot more than the first book, because there's a lot more going on, and I really like Sebastian's character. I really like, he's grown on me a lot. So I'm excited to continue. I really want to finish this tonight. So I'm going to go back to reading, and hopefully I can finish it. Not sure how many more check-ins I will do, but let me just get back to it, and then I will touch in with you guys in a bit. Hey guys, so I am needing to do a check-in here because I'm kind of flying through this book. Like, it's really easy to read, can't put it down. I'm about 70% through it now. And so I thought I better do a check-in before I read like most of the book. So, this book is so much better than the first book. I think it just has a lot more going on. It's a little angstier. They're older, so it's not like the young college student drama kind of thing. And so I'm really enjoying this one much more. And I'm loving Sebastian's character. Like, now that it's 7 years later and he was betrayed by Naomi, he feels he's kind of shut off his emotions even more than he already was, pretty kind of psychopath tendencies. But she was the only thing that, like, he's ever had a soft spot for. So he kind of like shut that down. He kind of used to have masks of like showing like emotions or putting on that personality in public. And now he's kind of shut that down. He doesn't really care to even wear his masks a lot of the time. But now that she's come back into his orbit, he can't stop thinking about her. He like hates her, but wants her, is angry. He feels betrayed. He has no knowledge of like why she abandoned him and left him. And he's upset and she won't tell him why. And so they end up having like a few interactions. He kind of runs into her and her husband again at his like grandparents' party, and he was like infuriated with that. He like, oh, okay. So before that happened, he met her husband at like the first party that they ran into each other at. And her husband's a very powerful, smart, methodical man. And so she's very nervous about him. He's like able to like really read language and get a read on people very easily. And so she doesn't want him to kind of know what's going on or what went on between her and Sebastian. And so she's just, trying to play it safe. He actually wants to kind of hire him as his lawyer. And she does not want Sebastian to do that because then it's bringing her past and, current timeline together, and it's just dangerous. She knows it'd be bad for Sebastian. And so she tries to go to the law office to try and talk him and his uncle out of it. And he's like, no, like I'm going to work with him. You don't have any say in what I do. And he's like, if you want me to hear you and not do it, then you need to meet me at my place, blah, blah, blah. She ends up coming. He has the lights go out as he had the door open, and he full on attacks her, and they do their usual CNC, and it's hot, and they're very into it. She hasn't felt like that in 7 years. And so they have another run-in, and he's at another party, and they like fuck at the party and all this kind of stuff. And so they end up kind of having this affair going on for a few weeks. At one point, she like had tried to kiss him it was really sad because when they hooked up at the second party, he put her into another room and they got after it again. Okay, anyways, so they had some rough sex and everything, and she got kind of emotional and she tried to like kiss him, and he was like, what makes you think you have the right to kiss me? And that just totally broke her. And she's always the super tough chick that never showed emotions, and she like completely breaks down. Sorry, my cats are annoying me. Anyway, she completely breaks down and like kind of collapses to the ground and just starts bawling. And he like feels really guilty, wants to comfort her, but then he thinks about how she left him and he just can't do it. And so, they continue their affair and everything. And she just is pulled in different directions. The other thing is that she has this half sister, and her father is he's like a leader of the Yakuza. And so she is like worried for her sister's safety. He kind of used her sister and everything against her to make her do this arranged marriage with her husband. And now she's found out that he's trying to get her sister to an arranged marriage with somebody in the Bratva. And so she's very upset. So there's reasons that she was doing things. And she ends up going over to Sebastian's one night, and he's really sick, and she kind of helps him, but he kind of like is out of it, really like sick, and kind of goes off on her and is like, you need to tell me why you did what you did. And she won't talk about that, but she's like, you can talk to me about anything but that. And he's like making her tell him if he loves her, if she loves her husband and all that kind of stuff. And then she wants to like stay with him and cuddle with him. And he's like, no, like you can, but you have to stay in the morning. You don't get to go back to him. And she stays, but then she goes to her husband in the morning. And so she's knowing she needs a way out of this. Like she can't get out of this marriage. There's a lot of things in play. And so she wants to kind of try and talk to her husband. And she happens to find him and one of her dad's like soldiers. That soldier is like tied up and giving him a blowjob, and he's like kind of using knife play during the scene. And so she takes a picture and she's like, you know, this is the guy that shot Sebastian, the soldier. So she really hates him. So she's like so happy with this, but her husband's like, we're not getting a divorce. You don't think I've smelled him on you the last 3 weeks? Like he can fuck you all you want, but you're my wife. And he's like, I sent him a little gift, and, you know, and so he had ended up sending Sebastian like some of these like Japanese like oils, but his letter was like, you can fuck her all you want, but she comes home to me kind of thing. So she is kind of stuck in a bad position, and Sebastian, she's being followed one day and she thinks it's the guards, and she goes and pounds on the door, ends up being Sebastian. He's like, I asked you nicely to stay, and you didn't, so I guess I just have to kidnap your ass. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and he's taking her back to their original place where they used to do all their runs in the first book, where he would chase her and screw her out in the woods. And this was also where he was shot, so he's taking her out there. So I'm enjoying it, you guys. Like, I really like this one so much more than the first one. I think the first one was good. It just had so much CNC scenes. It was just like, I really feel like this could have been one book, but I still enjoy it as a duet. So I'm having a good time with it. So I'm going to get back to it because I want to finish reading. I probably won't do another check-in tonight. It's already late, as you can see. But I will probably check in with you guys tomorrow once I, finish the book. Hey guys, so I am back for my last check-in for Black Thorns. I really loved this book. I liked it so much more than the first one. The first one was just so heavy on the CNC and just kind of felt a little repetitive, just constant sex scenes. But this one had a lot more to it. I love the second chance aspect of it. I think I did a quick check-in last night. I think when I was like 70% through. I can't even remember. So I'm not completely sure where I left off, but I'll just give you a quick little wrap up of my thoughts. I really loved this. Sebastian's character really grew on me in this book. I loved his possessive and like obsessive nature for Naomi. Naomi had to make so many sacrifices when they finally kind of, I remember. Okay, I left off where he had kind of kidnapped her. He takes her out to the place where they used to always do their primal play and CNC sex on like that rock. And they have a pretty intense CNC thing go on here. And also she ends up telling him the truth after this, that like she did it to protect him. He was like, brought up her having sex with, her husband. And she's like, I've never had sex with him. I've never been with another man besides you. And he's like, what do you want me to be happy about that you left me and betrayed me and you didn't have sex with him, but like you're married to him. You have his name, all that kind of stuff that he's upset about. And so she kind of explains, I did it for you to keep you safe. My father was threatening you. I had to do it to protect my half-sister, all the things. She basically just lets it all out on everything that she's been holding back. And he's like, you know, feels really bad because he's been hard on her, but also everything that she's had to sacrifice. And they lost 7 years together. So they end up going back to her mother's house. She actually kept her mother's house, even though her mother had passed away from her cancer. She kept that house. So they go there and they end up, you know, having this night of just like telling each other everything, reconnecting, like basically, you know, confessing their love and all that. Then they do another like little CNC, you know, chase me scene. And they're like out in the patio and he's having sex with her pretty rough. And her husband shows up and he just keeps going like, go ahead and watch the show. And so that comes into play of like, he's like, I'm not divorcing you. We're staying together. So she needs stuff on him. And she also needs to worry about her father eventually going after Sebastian again in the future. So she kind of comes up with a plan. She goes to go meet with her dad. And her husband was there at the office. And they basically show her footage of like, they basically kidnap Sebastian again, and he's in that old room that they were kidnapped before. And so she's devastated and can't believe this shit. And so that Kai guy actually helps her. He gives her a little black book that her father had of all these people he kind of like conned out of money. And these are like very big, you know, mafia people or, you know, pretty high up there kind of individuals. And so he says, you know, pretend like your husband stole this. You know, we'll use that against them. So basically she goes to his parents' house, enlists his parents' help to kind of block some of the business stuff that her father's involved in and all this stuff to kind of like stop this. And they end up getting Sebastian back. And of course, there's the happily ever after. And her husband goes back home and she basically is divorcing from him. And so I really loved this. I'm really interested to see if we're going to have books on the other lawyers that were from like the Royal Elite series. And also his uncle was really interesting. So I'm wondering if there'll be like an age gap or something with him because he's like very stoic and all about his career and thinks like Sebastian's dumb for falling in love and all of that. So I loved this a lot. I loved the second chance. I loved like their reconnecting and like kind of the angsty feelings for each other. The sex was so hot and they were just so great together. And I just loved it. I love the Yakuza aspect. I've barely read any mafia romances where Yakuza is like the mafia. And it's funny, I just read these two books and then another book. Jagger Cole just had a new release that was Yakuza 2. So if you guys have any Yakuza recs, please let me know because I want to start reading some more of those books so I can also make a Yakuza Mafia video. But I love this. I gave it 5 stars. It is 5 chilies. I think I gave the first 5 chilies too because there is a lot of spice, a lot of kinky stuff going on, and the CNC aspect and all of that. So I would actually highly recommend this Duet. It's a lot better than the first one I read that was about Rina and like her amnesia, but the amnesia trope doesn't always work for me. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this vlog, you guys. If you can, please remember to like, comment, and make sure you subscribe to my channel. I will see you on the next vlog.